Yo, Matt, coming to you from studio M3 here, Market Vitals. We stepped it up a notch. We got plenty of studio space. Man, I wanted to bring in today's segment. It wouldn't be untrue. I wouldn't be a liar if I were to say to you, Bitcoin can't go any higher. Holy shit, Bitcoin's on fire. Holy shit, Bitcoin's on fire. It's gonna go how much higher? The time to hesitate is through. Now, Matt, I'm not sure that the time to hesitate is through, but for sure, a lot of action in the crypto sphere, Matt.
The studio is looking fantastic right now, I got to tell you. The studio, you got that fold-up table, you got to move that thing out of there.
Wait a second, the fold-up, that's for cards after we get done with music.
Or no.
And also tippy cup or beer pong.
Flip cup or whatever they call the game. Yeah.
Exactly. Man, what do you think about Bitcoin?
Bob, I think Bitcoin is pausing, or rather, it sold off and it's rallying because we've got inauguration less than a week away and everybody's expecting chaos and insurgents, blah, blah, blah. I think that's why it's going up. And yeah, we could see 50,000 by next Friday again. Who knows? I won't be chasing it, as you know. I will not be chasing it. But, between Bitcoin and the Russell, Bobby, I'm going to talk about those real quick.
All right, man. Look at that. I just ran upstairs to the Market Vital studio. Let me
hold on, catch your breath.
Although I'm looking dapper in the shades.
I'm going to give you.
I just watched Cool Hand Luke, and one of my favorite lines is, "You don't mess with the man with no eyes."
It's true. Cool Hand Luke.
Right?
Paul Newman, great flick. By the way, I told you about a movie last night that I watched I hadn't heard about. Guy Ritchie movie came out in 2020 called The Gentleman. Great cast with Colin Farrell. What's his name? Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, I saw that.
And what a great flick because, and then Hugh Grant has this great, he's basically the script writer of the movie that he's telling the story. So it's one of those stories that you start at the end and then they go back and fill in the rest, right? It's one of those. It's fantastic. And in true Guy Ritchie form, what a fun movie that was with action and the crazy Guy Ritchie, segues and the little, motion stuff he does. It was a cool flick. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'm detecting from one of our statisticians here that we might have a problem on the live push here. Doesn't look like it's pushing. What do you got on your end?
It's pushing. We're fine. We're all good, Bobby.
We're all live?
We're all live.
I see it frozen on the Twitter sphere and on Periscope also. It's not connecting. Anyway, we have the
we're good. We're recording. We're all good.
All right, man.
Periscope, Periscope's being, shadow banned by Twitter and all that. So whatever.
All right, so we have the recording that we could always upload, correct?
We're all good. We're recording it.
Yeah. All right, man. Beautiful. Matt, I wanted to bring this one up first. I'm not sure if you saw this. East Bay man achieves golf's rare shot ever. Castro Valley man, Kevin Pond, makes history, scoring a 2 on the Lake Shabbat golf course's quirky par 6. I was not aware that there were par 6s.
So he had
there's a few.
So he had an albatross?
He had they call it a condor. I've never even heard of it. A condor. He scored 2 on a par 6.
I think the albatross is a 2 on a 5. So
exactly. So he got a 2 on a 6. A near 700-yard hole, mostly downhill, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they think he caught the cart path twice because the cart path goes,
But
serpentines.
there's no film at 11. We did not see it, unfortunately.
You know what though? I mean, there was some research done. Somebody in the golf world went to the course, and that's actually what they think happened. That he had a 500-yard plus drive because he caught both cart paths on the bounce, right? And believe me, I catch cart paths all the time, and I understand how far a golf ball can go on a cart path bounce, right? And so he caught two of them, and then he was only like 130 out for his second shot after a 500+ yard drive.
Oh, so the drive got him the huge distance. Gotcha.
Yeah, elevated green and put the 9-iron wedge in the cup for a deuce.
Wow.
On a par 6. Congratulations, Kevin Pond.
I got to say that to me, that's more impressive even than a hole-in-one, I got to say.
They said that it's so unusual that the golf hasn't even figured out what the actual odds for something like that happen are. I thought that was great.
That is awesome. That is fantastic. I love it.
The other thing that catches, I love old pictures, right? Look at this one, 1930, and some gals practicing boxing on the roof. I don't know where this was, but I wanted to bring the picture up a little bit closer. And they for sure they got a little tarp out on the roof. 7 gals watching, 2 with full-on boxing gloves.
Like the girl back like this.
Yeah, it looks like she got the heel toe.
Yeah.
The old illegal step on the foot, punch them. Anyway. This is 1930. I bring it up because, there was the crash, right? But things, even in the hardest of times, people are going to find a place for humor. And I had this, getting out and enjoying themselves. And I've had this conversation that the biggest cost of our political environment and this virus has been the cost of comedy, right? Humor has taken it on the chin. Humor at all-time lows. I mean, you cannot crack a joke about anything anymore. And I'm pushing back on that, man. I'm pushing back.
And the other thing, how about the music scene? The musicians that just want to get their talent out there and play like yourself and play live and get the fan feedback, man. That's the hard thing because, I think as a musician, you like to try out new material in front of live crowds, maybe, and you might have a list of 30 songs that you want to record, but only 10 of them kind of make it. So you kind of need to understand what the crowd likes a little bit. And that makes the music making process, I think, a little bit difficult in here also because the feedback mechanism is not there for the creative types right now, and including musicians, comedians, even physical art, right? I mean, it's very difficult to have the Saturday local markets to show your wares, even if you're doing the local art scene.
It's unbelievable too how important that feedback is. And I'm by no stretch I'm a professional musician,
right?
By any stretch of the imagination, but I have played open mics. I do enjoy that. And even at the level that I'm at, when you play a song a certain way and then you play it a different way and you see the reaction in the crowd, even the consistent foot tapping or not that is going on, exactly. There's real feedback there. And so, comedy too, I don't understand, how do you fine tune your comedy act if it's the whole time it's in front of the mirror?
How about this? I heard here's a good example. I heard some folks yesterday talking, trending pop topics, and one of them was Jimmy Fallon he's had below like 1 million viewers over the last couple weeks, months, and it's because he kind of took the high road and decided to do his show on a comedic level versus hammering Trump level like Jimmy Kimmel or what's Stephen Colbert. All they do is talk about Trump. So I wonder what's going to happen when Trump goes away. Well, for these guys, and they can't just have not have to think about content every day in comedy, and they just make fun of political stuff. Like I wonder what will happen with Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, because that's all they've done over the last year is hammer Trump, whereas Fallon is on the downswing. And by the way, he makes $60 million a year from NBC doing the Tonight Show. So I don't think he's going away tomorrow, but the good comedy is worth. And Jimmy Fallon is talented, by the way, and I like him he seems like a good guy, and I think he took the right tack by not getting political to do his nightly entertainment show.
Well, the interesting thing for me to watch and see if it unfolds is apparently most of them are just ratings whores, right? WHORES, rating whores. And so now if the Biden story and corruption becomes the leading narrative, it's just like the Antifa thing. Like, it's good until it's not good, and holy fuck, it wasn't good when it wasn't good, but we didn't say anything, and now we need to say something, but it's been going on for months. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see as this unfolds.
Well,
I don't give a fuck about politics anymore, except for things like this.
Yeah.
Because we talked about, this is going to lead into a little thread here. Pompeo, foreign policy elites predicted the world would end and there'd be World War III if our embassy was moved to Jerusalem. No World War III. Sky is still above us. Plenty of economic ties being forged between Israel and the rest of the Arab world. The whole narrative that they pushed, which basically was keep things escalated, right, and keep the warmongering going. And when they said this was going to push it to World War III, and it didn't, right? So the sky didn't fall. But I wanted to talk about this one too, because we talk about this transition, and everybody was, whatever Trump said or whatever he said about what was going to happen. Listen, they might have painted themselves as socialists or leaning socialist to be elected, but as the CNBC contributor Charles Payne said, the Biden cabinet is the most diverse Goldman cabinet of all time. There was a charade. They pulled it off. Congratulations to them that we have all these things in mind. Yet they packed the Secretary of Treasurer Goldman, the Secretary of Energy, a guy right out of the oil fields. I just find it humorous to see something like that. And thank you.
And it's crazy to see. Nobody's talking about this, but Goldman has almost doubled in 2.5 months. Since the election night. I mean, it went from 184, 185 up here, all-time high at 308 as we speak. And that stock had been languishing, by the way, most of 2020, really not participating, to the levels that much of the stock market had. So I just got to say the obvious here is, Democrats are long and strong this market right now because they love it. They're loving it up.
Yeah. And it's nothing like having, I've always said, Matt, the very best trading methodology is insider information.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I mean,
legal insider information. Right?
Yeah. And now talk about inside. Goldman has got the inside track on this cabinet. Anyway.
And alongside of that, though, it's not just stocks. I mean, people, we need to talk about this a little bit because the same thing has happened in the oil markets, by the way, Bobby. Nobody's talking about this, but there's a reason why oil's going up. And I think it's not so much on a demand level as it is. I think we're at the situation where, and I'm going to show a chart. Well, let me show a chart real quick.
Yeah. Jump in. We got all day. Where are we going?
So let me talk about this because oil also, since the election, has gone from 33.5 a barrel to $54, which again is about a 60% move in the same 2.5 months, which is, not quite as much as Goldman did, but holy smokes, look at that thing. I mean, again, $34 November 1st, and we're all the way up to 54, which tells me, the powers that be, the political elites expect more chaos and more warring now that Biden is in power. There's a reason why oil goes up. And this has nothing to do with demand from people staying home right now. I can tell you that. So this has to do with the big elites purchasing oil for future battles. This is what this is right here. Plain and simple. So be careful what you wish for. You wanted, the peace that we had in the world over the last 4 years under Trump now is ending. And now you're entering a chaotic phase again, led by your esteemed new government that's going to be taking over next week. And with that in mind, I think that's also the reason, as I started the show off, Bobby, I think it's the reason why Bitcoin is actually creeping back up here, is because we've got, an event scheduled next week, which is the new president taking over. And we did have the sell-off last week, a significant sell-off, by the way, $12,000. And we're all the way back up here to the 40,000 level in no time. It really didn't spend any time down there at the bottom, didn't even doink around down there. We just went straight back up. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with, kind of the calendar and where we are and how things are going to play out. After that, I can't tell you, but I think we'll continue to run just because people are expecting chaos and again, nobody was expecting chaos the first time it happened. Everybody's expecting chaos this time. It won't happen. So put those thoughts away. Don't even think about chaos.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more,
And that whole insurrection was made up. I mean, it happened. They let some people in.
For sure. I mean, that's the tragedy of it all, is that 5 people died that didn't have to. Had the believe me, we could go down that rabbit hole forever. This is a more fun rabbit hole. Let's stay on this one. And this was so funny, Matt, because I saw this tweet before I saw the one I'm going to share from you. And so this was the tweet. The year is 2028. There are now 99,999 ETFs in the U.S. stock market, only 1,000 stocks with earnings. The 100,000th ETF is announced on future momentum stocks of corporations that will be established on Mars. The market rallies 20%, right? A fantastic little thing. But the most fantastical thing about it is this thing that you shared. And I don't know if this is to be true, but there is actually a space exploration ETF. I mean, you can't make this shit up. The ETF about biotechnology shares in planets in the Andromeda Galaxy. Are you kidding me? The Andromeda Galaxy, by the way, the Andromeda Galaxy is going to merge with the Milky Way Galaxy at some time in the future, possibly creating havoc and the end of the times as we know them, right? It's pretty far away. We can't even get to we couldn't get back to the moon, right, in the past 50 years, but we're going to get to the Andromeda Galaxy. Give me a fucking break.
If you notice, Mike put that out, the tweet this one that you put up there, he put out at 7:01, and then the other one was his sarcasm towards the craziness of all this, which, was his 2028 prediction, right? Uh-oh, we lost my screen there. So
we lost your pretty face. That's all right, man. The show must go on.
Show must go on. Power through, buddy.
Yeah, I can still hear you. No worries.
Yep. So anyways, I do find that hilarious because, that is exactly the world we're living in. And I've in my 30 plus years seeing these markets, I've literally never seen anything as crazy as we're seeing right now with that type of, behavior and speculation towards futures on the equity side of things. I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
All right, Matt. I just want to cover a couple of charts. And the FANGs taking a bit on the chin here. Let's see how the week unfolds, Matt. But one thing I wanted to show was the Facebook, and this is a 55 minute. We got to fractal out a little bit.
Yep.
But again, just like when things rally parabolically, this has got just collapsing, falling away standard deviation modeling on the daily. And it's just not healthy. That is not a healthy looking chart, right? And so for me, you got to fractal out the weekly.
If you're short, it looks great.
If you're short it, yeah. The weekly, you've run into the collar, but you're getting expanding. You're going to get more room next week. For me, you got to go all the way out to the monthly for me to see where this thing likely at least gets the first argument, like substantial argument. And that's right down there at that average 237. And also you got this pretty physical double top here. This high 224 and this high back from June or July of 18, right? 218. So 237, 222, 218. It's going to get physical in there. But for sure, it's not that's not a strong monthly candle if it continues this way. I actually had this thought, Matt, that you could see possibly in some of these things, the year or close to the year range put in the first month.
Yeah, I've had in my view of the Facebook, and I've talked about it before. I see 200 this year. I definitely still see 200. I think we talked about it maybe later last week when we were talking about it, but we've broken down. Let me share my view of that here, Bob. We have broken down multiple levels on Facebook, and I think it becomes very clear here. Again, we're running away from the momentum. We're running away, and again, 230 is kind of your level. That's the bottom here on this 89-minute chart. And if you go fractal out, we like to look at these multiple time frames. There's a long way for this to go. And again, I see 188 to 210 coming into play for sure this year, and it just makes sense. The backlash is real. Even if, forget about the politics, 50-60% of the people do not like what they're seeing with social media putting restrictions and repressions on freedom of speech. So I left the Facebook platform. I have an account, but I haven't been on it probably since 2014 or 15. So, and even people I know that like Facebook, I know last year we're pulling away from it, and I don't think that continues this year. I think it even grows and exacerbates, and will be a problem. And I think there'll be backlash towards Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Netflix. The fangs. I mean, it's going to continue. We've talked about here. It's a major theme for the year, and the smart money is already ditching. They've been ditching since November on these names. So it's almost an antithesis of oil and Goldman Sachs. Now you got the big old conglomerates running, and the new tech companies are kind of tiring out here a little bit, Bob.
Right on, Matt. And the other, and I just want to reiterate now also that marketvitals.io, our community, let's face it, Facebook did a lot of great things as far as putting together functionality. The platform wasn't successful because it sucked. The platform is having problems because people understand their data is worth something, and they're giving that all away from free, that their data is being harvested left, right, and center, right? And so marketvitals.io sort of has the feel of a Facebook community, but we for sure aren't selling anybody's data. It's a community to come together and talk trading ideas, risk, reward, discipline, all the things that have made successful traders successful over the years. And also, by the way, Matt, enjoying your life, for God's sakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Freedom. Let me just jump in, since I brought in the segment with a little Jose Feliciano. Look at Bitcoin on the monthly. Holy shit! I mean, that is just parabola, right?
Yeah.
But as you fractal down, you're going to see some of these levels a little bit more reasonable, as reasonable can be dissected. This is the important one for me, though, here on the daily, because in this congestion, we've actually got some collapsing potentiality on that upper band. So 44,698 right now. That's going to move a bit, but for me to think that we really go parabolic, you got to kick that upper band in an upward sloping direction. The only way you do that, by the way, is make higher highs continually here, and close on the highs, more importantly. We talk all the time about the importance of closes. And so for me, it's not just, the worst thing that you could see here is a retest of this double top as we get to it today, tomorrow, the next day, whatever. Cryptos never sleep 24/7, 365 days a year till they shut out the lights. But whenever it does that, you want to see a close on the high. I can't stress enough how important closes are.
Yeah, and to me, what I'm seeing when it comes to Bitcoin, again, I'll toss up a chart here, but I'm seeing heavy divergence. Yeah, we're going up in price again, but lack of volume, lack of momentum. The momentum again down here on the bottom, just you can see that line holding solid. I would need to see a breakout over that RSI line with price going higher. For me to think that this has much more legs, and I just don't see it happening. I mean, again, this RSI is just kind of it feels dead cattish to me, nothing more. And I think a lot of it again is just based on calendar and where we are with the inauguration and the transition next week. I think once that's over, there's really nothing left to point this too much higher. So be careful out there.
Yeah, and again, basically a $15,000 or $20,000 range here. Maybe like I just said in Facebook, we could put a giant part of the year's range. We might have already put it in.
Hey, Bob, we had another unicorn go public yesterday, and I'll just talk about it briefly. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but a firm, which is another banking entity, came public yesterday already at like 5x. I think they must have priced it like at, $25-$30, somewhere in there. And it opened, right at 91 and up another 30, by the way, today. So just pointing out that the unicorn party is still going, and a firm, and I see their ads everywhere. So they're definitely spending money, but coming right out of the gate strong with a $15.6 billion market cap, just like that, and up another 32% today after a 4 or 5xer yesterday. So there's the demand is definitely there. The supply is thin, and people are chasing this thing right out of the gate, which again, pretty interesting. Beans, by the way, Bobby, you back looking at these things today? They've spiked back up. We're back up. We're back testing the highs that we put in just yesterday at 1437, and we're trading 31 again today. So that the dips don't last long in the beans. I mean, it really sold off, maybe 30 cents or so, and we're right back there again, climbing all the way up there today. And
Matt, and I had seen the numbers, and I meant to grab that. I'll bring it for tomorrow. The amount of beans and meat that China imported in 2020 is staggering.
I think I sent you a little clip on that too, right from China and the China Times.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers are absolutely staggering.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a two-sided kind of, I don't know, sword or whatever you want to say, because people will really act irrationally, right, if they're hungry. And so it becomes a giant leverage thing for the U.S., right? They're exporting that much food to China. But that leverage doesn't come without peril, right? Because somebody wrote a book, I forget when it was called 12 Meals to Anarchy, basically saying that, you go 4 days without food, 3 square a day, if we're talking that way, and people will violently revolt. Like, it doesn't take long for people to go batshit crazy if they're hungry, or if they perceive that they're in danger of not having food. And so while it's a strong bargaining chip, man, it comes with a lot of peril. And I don't know, these prices of food that we're seeing, that we've been talking about for months, right?
Yep.
For sure playing out, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out geopolitically, because that's one dangerous geopolitical football to be using.
Yeah, hunger is a serious thing, to your point. I mean, people won't put up with it if they can eat. Also, along with kind of these crazy parabolic moves in the grains and Bitcoin, we're seeing another new high, by the way, not in the S&P, not in the NASDAQ, not in the Dow, but again in the Russell. The Russell hit a new high here of 2158, just off it again here. And this chart is really, I just got to show it because it's amazing. And one of the things we were talking about in the at Market Vitals earlier with some of our members was, not only is this thing off the hook, but we've actually had, if you want to look at it, we've actually had a couple moves now that to me might predict, we're done. We had a 600-point move to balance from 945 down there in March all the way up to 1580, let's call it. So let's call it 625, 630 points. And then once we settled in there, we've gone another 630 points as of today, right to this new level of 2158. This thing has been, momentum-wise, through the roof. But again, a tendency to be slowing down here as we hit a new high. You can see the RSI is diverging a little bit as price goes higher, but the momentum is not, there's only so much you can do when it comes to our RSI. It only goes 0 to 100. And at some point, this is why it's set up this way. That's why it's a great leading indicator. And I believe that we're leading to the downside now, that we're seeing all, these two mirrored moves of 600 points that you can see here very clearly. And we broke a trend line from that first move up, and we've never gotten back above it, which is interesting, right? So we've had a 600 point move, but this line is still, we're still bearish below that. And then we're hanging out to the recent trend line. And then there's another trend line below us that you could, again, I'm not a trend line guy, but I like to show these things because this is what other traders are looking at, right? And I think that this potentially could be, the end of a very strong move, because there's only so much more you can juice out of a turnip that's, doesn't provide a lot of juice anyways. So the Russell's gone through the roof, Bob, and it makes me a little wary when the other three major indices, the real companies, not the unicorns, but the real companies, are not making all-time highs at all, matter of fact, as the Russell is. So just something to, put in your pipe and tuck away and nosh on a little bit here.
Yeah, put it in your pipe and smoke it. Man, I do love the symmetry though, because that happens all the time. If you're out there and you're new to trading, Matt, I know you agree that you find symmetry all the time. So it's repeating, it's replicatable then going forward in your analysis. And not that it can't go higher, but now that you know that it's reached that symmetry, particular attention is being paid to short setups here, or weakness that you want to jump onto, or that I want to jump onto once that's happened, right? So in standard deviation modeling, when you hit those collars, that's up, and the profile, when you get that meat or those runs, the same symmetry, when you find that, you got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, you really do. A couple other names that to me are just still boggling, especially kind of where we are. But Carvana, I've talked about this stock before. It's hitting another all-time high again here this morning. And again, this is a 15xer, $20 all the way up to $300 in a year, less than a year. We'll call it 10 months. And folks, these aren't normal moves. And again, you've got a $21 billion market cap on a used car app. It's a used car app, Bob. Again, I shake my head because I don't understand it. I don't understand. I guess it's really as simple as everybody, that is short it gets stopped out, short gets stopped out, short gets stopped out. That's the market, I guess, right now. It's
you know what, for sure. That happens to markets sometimes, when that short interest just keeps getting waylaid.
Yeah, and we just
time again.
We just tick higher too. It's not like we're expanding, and it's not like, to me, these are not like really sexy moves. Matter of fact, if I was, if I were still holding on to these, I don't know how I could hold on to them on the long side. I'd be like, wow, I've just had a 15x move in the last 10 months. I need more greed. It just doesn't make any sense. And then I want to talk about a couple of the marijuana stocks that we got long. One is Tilray. We got long back at the end of the year, Bob, when it was, trading down there at the $7 level, and we've had a three bagger. All right, just about up to 1950 today, and I've pulled off half my. I told our members I'm taking off half today, and look at that thing. I mean, I sold, I think, right around 1850. It went to 1950. It's now trading 1727. Just again, I will buy this back. Get me back to the 12s, and I'll pick it up again. I really like this stock. The other one, Compass, we talked about it. It's the only really psilocybin company.
And are you sharing your screen on it? Because we're not seeing it.
Yeah, I thought it was. Hang on. And psilocybin, I'm still long a few shares here. As you can see, I had 5. I sold a few on the open this morning, down to 3,000 still that I'm holding. And again, I think this was a great pullback opportunity to pick up some of these shares. And this is, cruising back up. So, watching some of these names here, in the kind of the alternative natural selection, whether it's weed, whether it's mushrooms, that's what these plays are all about. And again, there's a lot of good things happening. And the other one I wanted to talk about was, help me, Bob, help me. I'm drawing a blank. I'll come up with it.
Curaleaf.
Oh yeah. Curaleaf, exactly. Curaleaf also is having a real nice day here.
Again, share the screen, man. We're not.
Yep.
There it is.
I'm getting there. Hang on.
We have technical difficulties occasionally at marketvitals.io. Not in our analysis.
Curaleaf is another one that, again, at the end of the year, nobody was really talking about it. Back in December, you could have picked it up 10, 11 bucks, and it's, up 60%, trading 16s right now, got up almost near 17 today. So again, I like these companies. Oh, and then the other one I do like is, which had big news today, and we've been enjoying the long side of, where is it? Where is that darn little stock? Come on, Bobby, help me.
Just type it in, man.
It's Cresco Labs, and Cresco announced today they're moving into Florida, and that stock has gone from fives. I've owned this thing from the fives going back to last year, but it's trading up to 14 today, and this thing has just been a monster. And again, picks and shovels. These guys, Cresco Labs is basically the processor. They're the ones that turn the flower, whether it's hemp, whether it's marijuana, into extract oils that they then can use to make edibles, from gummies to chocolates to drinks to popcorn, you name it, Bob. This is going to be a huge market. And these guys are probably the leader in the picks and shovels and the processing side of things. Okay. So I just wanted to point these stocks out when they pull back. And again, we were recommending these, when nobody was talking about them at the end of last year, and they've made huge runs, and I highly suggest taking profits now, but keep a watch on these, because the momentum is going to continue as more states legalize, and we're only about a third of the way through right now nationally. Once the feds do the banking thing, this thing's going to take off also. Speaking of picks and shovels, you want to talk a little bit about the Winklevoss twins, getting into the credit card business with,
that's just brilliant, man. It's just, well, the bank that you brought up earlier, they've got the full digital custody whole thing, and the regulations that are coming down the pipeline for sure are friendly to digital assets. So you can't ignore these stories, right? And the thing that I think is going to be interesting going forward is how the disruption then disrupts the space and the players. Like, if, for instance, Morgan's or JP Morgan Chase, if they make a ton of money on overdraft fees, right? Yep. And ATM fees. I mean, a giant amount of money. They're just pilfering from society, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So they want to get into the digital space, but the digital space actually guts their business model.
Yes.
And so I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. It's like the horsewhip maker saying, listen, I'm still making horsewhips. I'm sorry, the cars are going to take over, dude. It's like, it's at the end of the day, you're done. And so it'll be interesting to see how these bank models evolve when the technology is meant to put them out of business.
Well, and I think that, I guess my takeaway from the fact that the Gemini and Winklevoss twins are having a Visa that you can use with your crypto to pay for stuff, right? Makes a lot, to me, this has kind of been the missing dilemma, is how can you use that stuff to pay for stuff every day? And this is a huge thing. And so for me, like, fundamentally, these types of big platforms like this, Gemini being one of them, and the Winklevoss, boys, this is big news. It's big news for crypto. And that's another reason why you could argue that the stocks have been up the last couple of days. Probably people knew this news was coming, bought it out of it, but now the news is out, and, you didn't make a new high from it either. So what,
Dick, I'm long some, and I took some profit on that 610 chart, man. I just love that 610 chart. but I am just like the Russell. I'm paying particularly close attention as we go to this double top. You know, and we'll be monitoring closely. It's amazing, for me, Matt, when I get to an area, and we talk about fractaling in and fractaling out, right? So as you get to a longer term area and you're holding a position, especially if you're at the con, right, you're able to sit at the controls and watch the market. If you're not going to be at the con, you just got to put it in your offers, right, and take profits at these longer term levels. But if you are at the con, right, and you can sit there and watch the market as it approaches these levels, then you have the ability to fractal back down and see how those shorter time frames are evolving at that level. Again, Matt, the nuance of trading, incredibly important to understand where you are in the chart, what fractal you're looking at, and therefore how you should be making decisions. So, for instance, man, I'm going to go skiing again. Yesterday I went skiing. I took one run, top to bottom, and went right back to the car and got in because I should have had ice skates on.
I was going to say it had to be nasty up there.
Here's the problem too. We got a bunch of rain, then it froze, turned the whole volcano into a marble, right? But then they got some more snow, and then it blew into places. So you make 3 turns on pristine snow, right? Fine. And then you'd hit a sheer ice skating rink, right? I needed my, Chicago Blackhawk jersey on. And it's called terror skiing because you never know when that next patch is coming.
But if you're like me and you grew up learning how to ski in the Midwest ice rinks, that we called ski hills.
Exactly. So they've had a chance to groom the mountain, right? Which will make for a fast track. So my point being that since I'm not going to be at the con, I got to make a decision, right? Against the longer term time frame. I'm not going to be there if and when it gets to that double top. So my orders are in. If I was sitting at the con when we got to the double top, I would fractal down from the, daily, weekly chart that double top is so apparent, and to, a 55-minute, a 34-minute, a 21-minute, a 13. I like fibs, by the way, Matt. Did I ever tell you that?
Yeah, fib math. It works.
Fibonacci with cream sauce, Matt. We're going to open an Italian restaurant. That's our first dish.
Fibonacci with cream sauce. The noodles
right? Love it.
They're all fractaled out. All the noodles are fractaled different sizes.
I love it. All right, Matt, that's all I got.
All right, Bobby. Hey, the other thing I was thinking about, you were talking about kind of like the new financial, companies, Bitcoin, et cetera, taking over from the, I think that's happened. I mean, you think about it, like your kids probably don't even know what a branch is. They don't even know how to go to their bank and sign a check. They take a picture of it, put it in their bank, and if they get a check. Otherwise, everything's digital to them, ones and zeros anyways. The same thing happened with travel agencies. The same thing happened to stockbrokers. Now that everybody's trading online. I mean, if we weren't trading online, we wouldn't have these moves, by the way. And this will vet itself out also once all these people get wiped out and the market goes down and they realize that the market does go both ways. So it will wipe out another generation of traders. And I'm giving the air quotes if you could see me right now.
Matt's doing this, by the way.
I'm doing that. But you're going to see the same thing that, you saw it in travel agents, stock brokerages. You're seeing it in futures brokerages, right? Why do you need a futures broker? You can just trade them yourself. You don't need to call somebody. And then you're gonna see it in the fintech space in a lot of places, Bob. Like Lemonade's a good example of an insurance company that's all online. I mean, when was the last time you talked to your insurance agent? Unless you have something.
I've been here 6 years. I think I talked to him once.
Yeah,
about
something really tricky to insure.
Yeah, it was about the food truck.
Yeah, there's no reason for you to talk to an insurance agent ever again. And those guys, those specialty guys will stay out there, but the State Farms, all the little State Farm offices, all the, farmers that you see, whatever, all state. But I mean, I'm not saying they're going out of business, but it's all going to be transposed and transferred over to the digital side of things. So just keep that in mind that, this stuff, these, businesses die. The life cycle of some of these, legacy entities is on its way out.
All right, Matt. Let me send it away with the I don't know how high it's going to go, but wherever it goes, please have profit targets and please pull the trigger. Forget about FOMO, man. Take your profits, take them and laugh all the way to wherever you like laughing, man. It's the number one thing in trading is please take your profits and don't marry your shitty positions. All right, Matt.
All right, Bobby. We'll talk to you tomorrow.